Janet, I know we're good friends,
Hmm.
but you don't have to call me sir.
Oh,
I joined the I live in Texas. We're gonna get this one out, and I live here in San Antonio, which is an Air Force town. The Air Force is a I'm not going to state much about it, but they are a very polite military service. Yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, out of their mouths 24/7, day is long, 365. You'll never get them to not say that. The service I joined was United States Navy, and every time I hear somebody call me sir, it's because for the 8-year contract I had with the United States Navy, if you ever called an enlisted person sir, they would kind of let it fly. They'd be like, "How dare you call me sir? I work for a living." And they pull out this big old foghorn, leghorn. I don't know what these people are doing. We're losing our culture. I just got called sir, and here I have dirty knees, and I got dirt under my fingernails. Boom. And they do that. It's funny. Oh shit, we're live. Yeah. Welcome back to episode 8 of A Guy, a Girl, and a Movie. And that was my that is a stand. What I just said to Janet there is something I say to people probably 4 to 7 times a week. I live in the most polite city in Texas, and everybody calls me sir, and I don't need to be. So we're talking about this really good movie that came out in '82, and I'm going to ask Janet. Janet, when
yeah.
you selected this movie, actually, let me get one other cordial portion out of the way. Janet,
Mhm.
how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm relaxed and had a couple shots and I'm feeling good.
I probably should have done that before this stream. Um, you're in Florida right now. You're enjoying the heck out of yourself,
Yes, I am.
soaking up some freedom seed time and enjoying the freedom of Florida and all
Yes, I
the.
took a vacation last year, so I'm like taking a vacation uh, a little vacation. So it's been very relaxing. Visiting with family and friends.
Healthy, healthy activities.
Yes. Besides the drinking, yes.
Yeah, I mean, my doctor gave me a clean bill of health on Friday, so we're back at the bottle. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, that's what I thought. Yay! So I I watched this movie that you selected called Victor Victoria, and
Hmm.
it's a Blake Edwards movie. The late husband to Julie Andrews, directed it and wrote it, and
Yes.
then you have James Garner, who
Hmm.
was from the Rockford Files and one of the most underrated stars of television of his era, I think.
And he was a star too. He made a lot of good movies.
He was amazing.
Maverick was one of them.
Yes,
I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I'm not very good with remembering all the names, but
I remember him from the movie Tank.
yeah, Tank. There was a few others. I didn't look that part up, but this movie had 7 Academy Award nods:
Yes,
best act, best supporting actor, best supporting actress, best screenplay, best original score, which won Academy Award for Henry Mancini, and best motion picture musical or comedy. Was nominated for all that. That's how good this was. Back when it really mattered, when movies really were nominated because they were good. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but I said it.
it had a lot of heads turning towards it. It was like the first movie. There were 3 big release movies that came out within a year of itself that had bender issues.
Hmm.
John Lithgow and something, and then you had Tootsie, and then before those you had this.
Uh-huh. That's a big hit, I think. I didn't.
It was amazing, but I'd never heard of this. Oh, I've heard of this movie, but I've never paid attention to it, and I never knew about it in sense of it being good quality cinema. I never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you recommended this, I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch it. And then I watched the trailer, and I'm like, oh, this looks like it might be one of those good movies because I like Robert Preston. I mean, this movie has Robert Preston, it has James Garner, John Rhys Davies plays one of the greatest nightclub owners ever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you've got and then you've got
James Garner, and you have
George. You've got the guy who plays Mongo from Blazing Saddles playing the bodyguard to Garner's character.
yeah, Ross. He
Yes.
played Spock. Yeah, he was the bodyguard that protected James Garner from Leslie Ann Warren's character Norma.
And the funny thing about George's character gets revealed in the second act, but it's a good turn of events because the movie starts out and you're watching this young lady get denied an audition, and she's really good. She has an amazing voice. She shatters glass with it. And that might be the takeaway of this movie. You've got a character that she just likes to, she's a really good singer. She's older, she's frail, and you feel sorry for her because she's just watching a guy eat at a cafe and she ends up fainting watching that.
Yeah,
And then,
because she hasn't eaten in,
say again?
she hadn't eaten in days.
That's what she said.
Yeah, she was very happy.
You feel for her. I mean, it's Julie Andrews. I mean, you're not gonna if she plays to your heart, she's gonna pull your strings.
Well, you could tell that well, I could as a girl, I guess. I noticed that it seemed like she was from like Broadway or something like that, and here she was at a vaudeville cabaret trying to get a job because apparently the industry wasn't doing very well. In the 1930s. I think it was what, 1937?
37 or 34, Paris.
Oh, 1934 Paris. Okay. Well, apparently the economy was really bad at the time. So
Just before the war started to really ramp up. While France itself wasn't doing horrible, the entertainment industry was taking a huge hit in a nosedive. And it proved to be an interesting setup for everything from the Treaty of Versailles to that point. So she's starving, she's fainting everywhere, and then she meets Robert Preston's character,
Toddy.
Yeah,
he's a cabaret performer, and that's why he happened to be in there when he showed up there while she was doing her performance for the manager to see if she could get a job. So I don't know what he was looking for, because he definitely didn't want a really good singer or something, because I thought she was good. But I guess because she was a woman, that he didn't think that it would help his cabaret bring in more people.
If I had a nightclub, that's the type of singer I want. Somebody that could, she has all 4 octaves, and she demonstrated her ability really well with that D flat display.
Yes, for sure. But the whole thing with the her going back to her apartment, and the guy telling her that he was taking all her belongings until she could pay, and she says they could work something out, that she'd sleep with him for a meatball when she licked his bib on his on his shirt, because she was so hungry. And then when she passed out, because she's starving, and he carried her in there and put her on the bed, and his pants dropped down around his ankles. Little vaudeville type comedy that was in there, which is a lot like Broadway, and I just thought it was really, really good. I really like little things like that make you laugh. It takes you back into the time, like, in the 1930s of entertainment. I just thought that was really, really good. And it was actually funny because it seemed like they were spot on when it was time to have something happen.
The physical comedy of this movie is pretty. I would say the physical comedy side of it was 10 out of 10. There's not a horrible amount of it, but it's good. It's there.
Definitely. I thought that was great. The costumes were phenomenal. I think even the costumes and sets design and all that stuff, I think it was even nominated for some kind of award. I don't know if it was Academy Award, but there was a ton of different awards for different things, like Golden Globes and all the different, going down the list for all these different types of awards. Different things were nominated for. So this movie was really, really good in all aspects, I think, of the industry. So, and I even think they even did do this on Broadway.
They did.
Now that I think about it. And the fact that I saw something that Julie Andrews' son was actually in the movie as a dancer, too. One of her sons. I don't know if she had any more than one. I don't remember. I didn't read that part.
I think she just had one son. Let me get the internet real quick. Internet, help me!
But the whole aspect of how when she went over to Tottie's apartment or flat, and they're both warming their feet with the hot water in the bathtub while they're drinking cognac to warm up, and Toddy starts sneezing and stuff. He's getting a head cold or whatever. So she's like, befriending him and telling him she's going to try to help him, keep him from getting really sick or whatever. And so he tells her, she can stay the night, and she thinks, no, I better go back and try to sneak back into her apartment. And that's when she puts on her clothes that they had laid over a couple of chairs near the fire to warm up and to dry out. And when she tries to put them on, they're too small. They've shrank. So now she can't go outside because she doesn't want to have anything to wear. So he gives her some old nightshirt or whatever to sleep in. And then she ends up going to sleep. Well, the next morning, he was going to go and cash a check and give her and pay her rent so that she could get her luggage and stuff back. And he couldn't because he was sick. So she made him get in bed. And while he was doing that, she said, do you have anything, clothes I can wear? And he said, you might could fit into Richard's clothes, which was the boyfriend that treated him like dirt or whatever. They broke up, in the beginning of the movie. That scene.
Was a weird way to start that film, because it starts off. It looks like it's looking out the window and the camera's pointing down. You can't see if there's like a sky or anything. So I was thinking it was a back alley or not a back alley, but a backlot shot. I thought it was on a sound stage, not out in the middle of Paris like they were trying to depict.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of robbed. I'm just going to say that. I was expecting Eiffel Towers in the Louvre. Nope, none of that. But
yeah, you definitely tell it was set up to make it look like a Broadway play.
Yes.
Okay. In a way, I kind of like that. I don't know why, but I just thought it was very. I don't know. I don't know why I liked it. I don't have a reason to spout out there. But when she put on supposed Richard's outfit, and she's taking his temperature, and he looks at her and he says that you look better in those clothes than Richard did. I thought that made me chuckle. And then she's looking for a hat, and then there's the door's opening because that guy just lets himself in, the Richard guy. So when he came in and then he opened the wardrobe and he was bad mouthing Toddy, it made her angry. So she just the shot where you see her fist just fly out, it hit him right in the nose.
Yeah.
I just love that part. It was so good. And then he hits the ground, and then she's yelling at him, and she helps pick him up, and she kicks him in the butt and like kicks him out of the apartment or whatever. And that's when Robert Preston's character Toddy hits him that she could pretend to be a guy, because if Richard thought he was a guy, then other people would think he was a guy. So that's where the idea comes in. So the whole setup at the beginning to show you that she's a legitimate talent with a singing voice and dancer or whatever, because she was on what is it? Is it Broadville or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you pronounce it? Vaudeville or whatever. I can't remember now. But so they set that all up. Oh, somebody's saying something about the birdcage, which I absolutely love that movie because I love Gene Hackman. He was in it, but it was a really good, well-made movie. Uh-oh. What's that? Sorry. I didn't know there was a doorknob. All right. There's a bell thing in here, so when someone rings the doorbell, so hopefully someone's going to... Someone else is showing up. But oh well. Has nothing to do with me. It's other people. I'm in someone else's home, so sorry, people. A lot of noise. But the whole setup for that was really, really funny. And then how he's excited, he's going to cut her hair and everything. And then they're talking about how she's like, you know, you're going to be a Polish aristocrat. And he met him in Warsaw or whatever, and they fell in love or whatever. And he said, and she's like, no one's going to believe that I'm a Polish count or whatever, and a female impersonator or whatever. And he said, all that matters is that they believe that you're a fraud as long as they think that you're a man. And that's all that matters. And it seemed like it worked pretty good. Even though I guess in the 1930s, that if you just took your wig off and had short hair as a woman, that would be considered, you could be a man, I guess. But I thought it was a simple, cute way of basically letting your common sense fill in the gaps for you. You know what I mean? Instead of having to show everybody's boobs and TNA or whatever like they do in so many other movies. They did it in a skillful way, like when the girls, the vaudeville girls or the dancers that are topless, cabaret ladies or showgirls, whatever you call them, like Vegas showgirls, were leaving and going to go back on stage or whatever, or coming off of the stage. They were from their backs, and you could see them walking, and they were all elegant and pretty, but you didn't have to see their boobs to know what their jobs were. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So I thought they did a very good. It was very well made to where boobies and stuff to make the show sell.
Oh, so. I got spammers. You want to get those shads, or you want me to take care of it? I can take care of it.
Oh, you got some more porn bots?
Porn bots. If in case you have 12-year-olds watching this video, please go to the porn, because that's what you're here for anyway.
Do you think it's because I'm on here that they do this?
They're looking for open places to go and graze.
And graze. I mean, what, they come in here and they think people will click on it or something?
They do.
Oh, well, that's sad.
I mean, come on, 12-year-olds. Don't you want teen girls? There you go. Thanks, Jared. It was an interesting film, and as the movie goes on, you know, you have a few turns with it. James Garner's character just wants to be a guy. He's around it. He's around so much of this the gayness in the movie, because come to find out that Mongo or George Arrakis or Eris.
Arrakis, yeah.
Yeah. He He's gay.
Yeah, but the whole premise of, you see James Garner's character come in, he's got a prominent seat, a permanent seat, apparently, that he shows up at this, what was his name? Andre Cassell, his nightclub. His name's Andre Cassell, and everyone knows him, in the business, because apparently he's got the most successful nightclub in Paris, which is be a big thing, I guess, in the 1930s. So the fact that King Marchand can just walk in with his bodyguard and his woman and sit down at one of the best seats in the house, there's no one else is sitting there, because it's apparently he pays and has it ready and available for him whenever he comes to Paris. So he's coming in with a really hot, good-looking blonde, it's got built like a brick house or whatever. And they sit down and they watch the show. And every time Norma's character would look over at King Marchand, he was very intrigued. And you could tell by the look on his face that he thought that Victoria's part was that she was very attractive, that he was attracted to her. So when the part comes at the very end and she takes off her wig and everybody goes, oh, they're shocked because they suppose, and then he looks at the brochure and realizes it's Victoria, that it's a man pretending to be a woman as a drag queen or whatever, and that he's shocked. Okay, because at first he's really bothered by it, but then the more he thinks about it, the more he thinks that there's no way that it's a man, because there's no way he could be turned on by someone that wasn't a woman. So that whole premise I thought was really good. And the fact where Robert Preston, when Tottie's character is with her and he's trying to help her practice for her part, and he's walking through the flat and he's like, remember, you're a drag queen, you have to use lots of shoulder and throw your arms in there, and he's very dramatic and stuff.
Yes.
I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it, because you do see that when they're doing Broadway shows anyways. Broadway shows, it's very you overreact, and you're more boisterous, and you're more loud, and you're over exaggerating in your movements and stuff than you would be in a movie. You know what I mean? Because you're doing it. It's a visual show that you're doing for people that are sitting down in an audience, so it's a little different. The way people react to what you're doing. So I just thought all of that was really, really good.
I was really surprised. I enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting to come out of that movie smiling. Hello, Man of War 665, neighbor of the beast. Hail. Yeah, you got to project your voice to the back rows, Janet. That's what Shadzar says.
Yeah. That whole concept of the way that they were acting and the way the flat was set up and everything, it just seemed... I don't know, it just seemed very authentic to me, even though I knew it wasn't a real building, because to me, the whole thing was set up to look like it was a Broadway show, the whole movie to me. And I think they did that on purpose because of the content of, the whole, it didn't really push a lesbian vibe to me, even though I did see a few women in some of these little cabarets. They were always with men. So I think they were pushing it more for the gays.
Yeah, it was more of it felt more like a gay thing, and gay agenda.
Gay and drag queen style type thing, like the dancers that came out with the two faces. One had a face on the front and one had a face on the back. Yep. And they were dancing, and they turn around and there would be a man's clothes and a woman's clothes, like that. So to me, it was more like it was for the gays. It was still catered to the men. Okay. See, yes. A lot of people still think women's libs happened way back then and stuff like that. Well, it really didn't. Even though these men were gay, their businesses were still catering to the men, not to the lesbians. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Because men were the ones that had money.
Yeah. Women had, vaginas and children, and they
stayed home and they took care of the families and stuff. So men were the ones that brought in the bacon, whether they were gay or not gay. And back then, a lot of them were closeted gays because they were, afraid they'd be ostracized in their communities, just like King Marshawn's character, which is one of the things that I thought was so intriguing and romantic in the same way, because I know as of today, a manly man, would never pretend he was with a gay man to keep the woman's identity a secret, because there's no guy that's going to do that for a woman today at all. I don't think there's a single man in the world that would do that for a woman. So that to me was the part that was fantasy about the movie, because I don't care how much a man says he loves a woman. There's no way a macho man that would walk around and hold hands with a person dressed as a man to make other men think he was gay for any amount of love with a woman. I just don't think, I just don't know if I don't believe there's a man alive that would do that for a woman to protect her identity or her career or whatever. I just don't think that would happen. Now, unless it was a TV show, like a reality series where everybody would think it was made up anyways, and the guy was getting paid extra money, or the guy wasn't a real heterosexual, and he was basically a bisexual or something like that, then those men might do it. But I really don't believe a man would ever do that.
Shadzer is accusing you of never seeing the Tom Hanks comedy called Bosom Buddies.
Well, yeah, it's Bosom Buddies. They're doing it because that was the only way they could be in that apartment.
Yep.
Okay. And go to that school, whatever, and use that apartment. But the thing is, they were trying to use it to get women. I'm talking about what happened in this movie where King Marshawn sees her naked and realizes she's really a woman, and he's intrigued by her. So now he's playing along with her, like when he gives her a cigar to smoke and things like that, because he's playing along with her, trying to get her to admit that she's a woman. Okay. Well, she's a tougher nut to crack than he thought, because by the time they did sleep together, now he's in love with her. And apparently, when his bodyguard saw him with her, thinking it was a he thought his boss was gay. So he said, if a man like you can admit he's gay, then so can I. And that's when he realized, oh, you're the badass guy I've ever seen, football, rough, tumbling guy, and you're gay. He was surprised himself. So the whole way that they handled it to me was not even, I didn't even think it was making fun of anyone or rude or anything. I thought the way they handled all of it was just very
it felt legit.
Yeah, and legitimate. But it actually made you think that, and he didn't treat him like dirt because he found out his bodyguard was gay and fire him or anything, even though he was supposed to be this big macho man. And but the whole fact that he took Julie Andrews to go dancing with a bunch of other gay men in a bar, and then he took her to the fights, and he's sitting there with her, and then he took her to the office.
Splattered by the pugilists going at it. She's just getting splattered with blood.
Yeah, and she gets grossed out and everything. But the fact that he was doing this, sacrificing himself and his reputation to appease this woman that he supposedly loved, to me, that was very romantic, and I love that. But I know that if I was in her situation, he would never do that for me. That no man would do that for me, period. And that was kind of a letdown for me, because in reality, that would never happen. I don't see a man ever doing something like that for a man or a woman. I mean, to pretend it was with a man. Even if later on, even like when he was signing the paper to give up the club to that other weasel guy, and you think he's a weasel, even though he's just being a man. You see what I mean? So they kind of kind of had a little bit of wokeism in it, because they're jabbing at a straight white male, okay, that likes a straight white female or whatever, but that not really. I don't know. I just thought it had a lot of twists and turns in it when it came to the whole gay genre outlook, and the transvestites, people that want to dress as women. But I I just didn't think it was in an obscene way or disrespectful way. I thought the whole thing was very respectful. In fact, to me, it was a good way of showing people the reality behind being a drag queen and acceptance of that. So, like when the three young dancers are watching Julie Andrews, what do you call it? Practicing for the one part with the stage director, and he's walking around with her and showing her the dance or whatever, or the routines and stuff. And the three guys are talking about it, the dancer, or about Julie Andrews' character, Victor, and Robert Preston standing behind him. And they're talking about, well, there's no way he's a fraud. And they're like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, if he's a Polish fairy, I'm a so-and-so. And they said, yeah, but I think he's divine. So Robert Preston realized they all believe that he's a guy, period. Didn't matter if the rest of it was true or not. And I thought that part of it, little things like that is what made it, to me, very entertaining, because it kept you on your toes, not knowing for sure what was going to happen next. But the scene where Leslie Ann Warren does her little striptease back in Chicago, and the looks on all the men's faces in there, and it's filled with men. The whole place is filled with men. Okay. Yep. The movie had tons and tons of extras in it, it looked like. And they were all guys, almost all of them, except for a few in the one cafe where the roach gets released.
Yes.
There was women in that. But
and I gotta say that the fat acceptance they used on the camera there to close up on that cockroach as it goes up the cankle of the fat girl, that is probably one of my favorite moments in cinema. In fact, keep talking. I'm going to see if we can find a clip of that, because that is worth watching and laughing about, because it's a good scene. That's how you do comedy.
Yeah, I noticed. But remember the scene in Shallow Hal, when the whole thing where she takes the underwear off and throws them on him in the bed, and he's looking at how giant they are, and he's like, who are you, Houdini, or whatever he's talking about, her being a magician, because he sees her as a good-looking, skinny woman, built, shapely, and the underwear are as big as a tent. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that was funny too in that movie. So, you're still able to use props and different things like that in the same aspect and get people to laugh if the comedy is there and the acting is there.
Look at that fat cankle. I mean, look at that. Look at that. For you people that don't like feet, here you go. Look at that.
You can tell she's wearing pantyhose.
And that she's got those on.
I've seen that woman in other movies. That woman was famous. I can't remember what her name is, but she's been in other movies too. There
was one other scene in the movie that I thought was just a little bit just absolutely nuts. And just hilarious. And that's the scene where the second fight starts up in that club, and the band goes from playing their regular tune to like, hey, we got fight music. Come on, guys. And it's like, they've done this shit before.
Yeah, you can tell. Apparently, it seemed like this guy's bar there were fights all the time.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
For a gay bar, it saw a lot of fights and a lot of damage and just destroyed tables and chairs or whatever else. But I just thought that one scene was hilarious when Julie Andrews takes that woman's wig off, not realizing it was a wig until she sees it.
Until it comes flinging off.
Yeah, and she's trying to act manly,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought Julie Andrews was just a genius. I mean, she is such a good actress. She's so talented. Her and Lucille Ball, I mean, when it came to singing, dancing, and acting, were just It's amazing. Just
Well,
very rare talent.
the director of photography, I believe the guy's name is Dick Bush.
Hmm.
This guy is like one of the best DPs. God, I hate saying that, but he is one of the best in the business. And he knew how to film. He knew how to do slow pans. He knew how to get everybody orchestrated together. And he worked really closely with Blake Edwards. It looks like he did a lot of work through his life. Henry Mancini did the music, but this guy was a cinematographer, and he just did. Oh shit! He was also the cinematographer for The Sorcerer.
Hmm.
Whoops.
Well, you could tell that whoever picked everyone to do certain jobs to make this movie um, successful by connecting all the right dots, for entertainment purposes. They did an excellent job, and you can't say that very often. Whether it's a comedy or a musical or a war movie or anything, it's just very rare that you're able to go check, check, check. Go down the list and check things off. I was just really impressed with that. But like the scene where Robert Preston's walking down the road, after he got fired, okay, from the other place, and he happens to, out of the corner of his eye, see uh, Victoria Grant sitting there at the table. When he saw her, he thought for sure she was at her wit's end, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he was intrigued, and he happens to go in just to see what's going on because he's that type of a person. He's very nosy. Um, I thought they did a really good job picking him to play a nosy gay, flamboyant, but he was just gay. He wasn't a person that really dressed in women's clothes or anything. His character wasn't. He was
He,
just
he
straight.
was like a certain way. That's all.
Yeah. So they did very good at him portraying a gentleman, basically, a gay uh, cabaret performer. I mean, I just thought they did a very good job at that. But the part where he goes in and she's talking to him about her plan about putting a cockroach in her salad, right? And then you got that funny, adorable waiter waiting on her. I can't remember the actor, but I've seen him in many things, and he was a really good actor for a comedian. I mean, I don't know who he was. I can't remember his name, but he did a very good job. And that one line that he says is one of my favorite in the whole movie, when he says, "It's a moron who gives advice to a horse's ass." So loved I love that part. I laughed every single time I've seen this movie. I laugh in that one scene because it all three of those characters this play off each other so well. And then while she's standing there shaking herself off, and the manager comes out to talk to her, and he's digging through her salad, looking for the cockroach. He was still being a comedian during the whole scene, where you can't help but smile or give low chuckles watching just the waiter in the scene around with everything else going on around them. And then the other people looking, they're still stuffing their faces, but they're watching what's going on at that one table with this woman, the way she reacted to trying to get away with getting her meal for free because she's saying she had a cockroach in her plate. And then the cockroach ends up going across and going up the woman's leg and causing her to scream and cause utter chaos in the whole restaurant so they could get out. And I just thought the whole scene was just phenomenal. They did an excellent job at making it the whole scene. So I thought they did great. Everyone that was involved in that, I thought did a great job. But what do
I
you think of that scene?
I thought it was cinematography at a teachable level because you could show this scene off to young kids and they would laugh. You would show this scene to high schoolers and say, "Study what happens here, study the reactions," and they could give you that. Or you could say it to two 20-somethings or 30-somethings, "Enjoy this scene with these two people. They're good friends," and they would get something completely different out of it. They would. If you replace these two actors but keep the same lines and the feeling the same between them, you would almost have like two college kids stuffing their faces before their next hour class.
Uh-huh.
I could see that, and I was looking at this with that critical eye as I was watching it, and I'm like, this actually is a really great film, and the screenwriting on it is so good, but it could have been aimed at different people depending on what type of movie they wanted to have received. And
Uh-huh.
I thought that scene in itself, it was just how you do physical comedy or the anatomy of a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of surprises you the last third, because here's the cockroach going up the cankles of the fat girl, and oh god. And that by the way, anybody that wants to wants to go on a diet, just I can, for $500 a month, I can just tell you things that are disgusting, and you'll lose your appetite. You'll be needing that money to, because food's going to get expensive anyway. You need to buy bugs, so you need to
Yeah.
buy bugs to eat, and eat the bugs, live in the pods, and you'll be fine. But it's funny because this the events that happen in that one scene, and I'm going to go back to that scene over and over again throughout my life, and just have a good laugh, because it made me laugh way too much. The physical comedy in this movie is top tier.
Yeah.
It's almost at the level of a airplane.
Yeah, because and Blake Edwards is the one that wrote the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
So him being nominated for best screenplay and for direction and stuff like that, that is like, does that happen? How often does that happen, do you think?
Not often anymore.
Yeah. But and Leslie Ann Warren's character was just, she played off her part, was so good for me to bounce off James Garner's character. Like the part where he's looking through the window and he sees Julie Andrews and Robert Preston hugging and kind of like snuggling a little bit and sharing a food or
Mm-hmm.
whatever in there, and him thinking about them being gay, gay lovers, and that how he was turned on by her while she was singing and doing her performance, and he could not stand the fact that maybe his manliness was
Under attack.
yeah, being attacked by his own self, by his own needs and wants and what it was going through his head. So when he turned and he saw Leslie Ann Warren standing there, she was like, Pookie, I'm horny, or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
he gave her that look, and he was like, he's going to town. So he just rushes in and grabs her, throw her over his shoulder, takes her to bed. I mean, I think every woman would want to be treated that way. Um, so that scene was very romantic, and she seemed excited. But then later, when you see him in bed and he's all depressed, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay. It happens to everyone. Well, men, I mean." God, that scene was so
Wow.
funny and she did such a good job, and you could tell she was really, really into her character because
Mm-hmm.
playing with the hair on his chest. And if you go back and watch it, she's wrapping her finger around and around and around it to where he ends up having to grab her hand because she's about to rip his hair out of his chest. The whole scene was just phenomenal. I thought they both did such a good job at making that scene seems so realistic. So when she's going on and on about, if you worry too much about it, it can cause you to worry more and not sleep, and worry about it makes it even worse. And next thing you know, you could be impotent like that. And then she turns around and she goes, "What's with the soap?" And he washed her mouth out with soap. So and then you have the bodyguard having to take her to this train station, and all she did was put a coat over her nightie or negligee. So he's taking her the whole time. She's just letting him have it, while she's just chewing him out one side and out the other. And he has to deal with her because it's his boss gets to dump her off on his bodyguard, which I thought was hilarious too. That whole, I bet I would love to see the outtakes for this movie because I guarantee there was a lot of laughing going on behind the scenes.
They had to have just
So
classic takes.
I wish I could have been on the wall because it was hilarious. And then the whole thing where he's walking along the train. I mean, that was genius. I mean, just that was comedic genius where he's walking along the train and Leslie Ann Warren is walking through the train and she's mad and she's shaking her hands and she's doing this over exaggeration and her anger on her face and stuff. And then she gets to the very end and that one guy's just walking by and she goes, and he ain't seen the last of me. And she opens up her jacket. She's sticking there almost naked, you know. And that guy sees it, falls into the tracks, and she's, "Are you okay?" You know, talking to him. So it was just funny as hell. I just thought I laughed. I had to stop. I had to blow my nose and stuff because I was just laughing so hard. I just forgot how funny this movie was because I hadn't seen it in, you know, a long time. Because these are the kind of movies I used to watch with my mother. My mom loved James Garner. She loved Julie Andrews. And God, I can't even remember the last Julie Andrews movie I watched before I watched this movie. I mean, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like Mary Poppins or something. I mean, I don't remember. But it was a long time because I really hadn't watched that many things with her in it until this came out. And Mom was like, "Jan, you have to watch this. You're gonna love this. It's so good." And my mom had a lot of daughters. She had 5 daughters, so my mom would, I'm sure, made each one of us when we would go visit my mother. All of us watch movies with her. So my mom watched lots of movies, but you know, I think my mom had such good taste because it just seemed like most of the movies that I absolutely loved and loved for a long time and watched again more than once were movies that I watched with my mom. So she was very influential on me when it came to movies that
I think the movie I saw the most with my parents has got to be the Blues Brothers.
oh, God, that was a good movie too.
I could probably write you the script. I've seen that movie more times than I can count. It's not that I can care to count because I love that movie. That's just a classic film. That's how you do a car chase movie. That and The Duel, I think, are the 2 best movies to come out of
And that
Hollywood.
was a comedy
Ever.
musical too, wasn't it?
The Duel was not a comedy. That was a horror film. Hey,
No, I'm
Sean Diamond, how you doing, buddy?
Brothers movie. The movie, The Blues Brothers.
Oh, The Blues Brothers was a great musical comedy.
Yeah.
There's probably about 8 musical numbers in that film where they just kind of stop the script and they got to get this dance and music scene done. And that was just an entertaining film throughout the entire thing. We'll have to talk about that one of these days, but that's one of my top 5 movies of all time.
And the line, what was it? It was we're on a mission from God. So yeah, that was a good movie too. But it was a comedy, musical comedy. So there just really wasn't very many, I don't think. Grease was another one that was a good musical comedy. I don't know if it has as much comedy as this one did, but it still was good. So there have been, at least that I've gotten the privilege to watch, a lot of good, well-made comedies. I just don't think they could make one. I don't know. Is there another one they've made in the recent, last 10 years or whatever?
There was a musical movie that came out a couple of years ago
With Hugh Jackman, that one, The Greatest Showman.
No, not that one. It's got your favorite. Alex and the Real Girl is.
That I didn't see that one.
I haven't seen it either, but it's not Alex and the Real Girl, audience. I'm. Ryan Gosling stars in it, and so does Emma Thompson. La La Land.
Yeah, La La. No, I haven't seen that one, so I can't say whether it was good or not. But I'm sure it was good if a lot of people liked it and watched it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I'm just saying, it just seemed like I don't know. It's just, to me, it's very rare that you check off this many boxes with actors, with the script, with the sets, with the writing, with the music. It just seemed like pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't say it was a 10 because there were a couple things that I thought were kind of dumb, but I thought overall it was just a phenomenal movie. I just really, really thought it was very, very, very well made and entertaining.
This is a movie that I don't think you could make today.
No.
I think they would try to, and I think the message would be so huge. You would have people that would be they would hear this tone deaf crap bellowing out of Hollywood, and we wouldn't have the civility that we have in this movie. This movie here is so civil and it's so polite. This movie cares about how it comes off, because I say that because look at how the gentleman Toddy is played by Robert Preston. Look at how he interacts with everyone around him. Listen to his inflection, and no matter what, he's always trying to make sure that he's going to come out of this a little better. He's not mercenary, mind you, but he is an opportunist. He is trying to write his own 1099, his own check, because he's not anybody's employee. He's a performer. Sean, we're talking about a movie called
Victor Victoria.
Yeah, Victor Victoria from 1982. Sorry about that. Subscribers only mode. I had to kick that on because the porn bots wanted to swing in here.
That is never seen.
I don't get it.
They just don't like me.
Yeah, but it's a good movie. It's got Alex Karras in it, who is in Blazing Saddles as Mongo, but it's got Gimli's John Rhys Davies. It has quite a few scenes with John Rhys Davies in it. Hey, Sean. And this is a movie that when it came out, it was the right. They just had a thing go on in Hollywood where they were talking about gender bender movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this movie, and there's one with John Lithgow, and then Tootsie came out all within 12 months of each other. So this was the message that hit in 1982-83. Gender bender movies can be funny. They can be done well. Let's go for it. Let's go whole hog. And they did. They really went whole hog. They got Julie Andrews to star in it, and she's one of the dames of Hollywood. I can't think of a better singer. I just can't.
She was really, really good, and she looked good with her hair short. She was still very attractive.
Yeah, she has the right face for short hair.
She still looks womanly, like a hair short, just like Liza Minnelli. I thought Liza Minnelli had that same attractiveness with short hair when she was in that movie Cabaret. So,
Man of War 666, neighbor of the beast, says, thanks a bunch, Bruce. And here with the missus having a headache, I was planning to possibly put those links to good use later. Sean's one of the guys from the Peoria area where I used to live about 12 years ago. And occasionally he swings by. It's good to see him in here. I haven't seen him in a while.
Socialist Republic of Illinois.
We all have the same thoughts about Illinois. We might be on different sides of the aisle or on certain sides of certain situations, but you hear people, and the word socialist Illinois comes up quite a bit. Even Connell says that.
What did you personally think of her, Leslie Ann Warren's dance and singing Uh,
Uh, well, I mean, the wife wasn't home, and so I kind of put it on pause and came back about 5 minutes later. It was pretty suggestive, I'm going to say. And she's smoking hot, and I had to go and grab some food from the kitchen, and while I was there, grabbed a beer, and I came back here, unpaused it, and watched the rest of it properly. And it was probably one of the best slutty portrayals of a woman begging for validation I've seen in a long time. And it looked like she had never had her daddy's hand give her a good pat on the head. You did good today. But she did everything she could to show off the goods she was born with.
hmm And
God bless her. That was so good.
but that was her job, and it seemed like the men in the audience were enjoying her representation of Chicago, Illinois herself. Are there?
Yeah, she had a very nice way of expressing herself, and I was rather pleased. I think she did good. I think she probably got a job later, maybe did a couple jobs later because of this. And,
And the thing is, though, if you think about it, I mean, I guess because I'm a woman, but I was so focused on her character and her little pink negligee and everything that she was wearing that I didn't even remember what the other girls looked like that were dancing with her.
I thought they were pale imitations.
I
Like
mean,
you don't want to look better than the main singer.
no, I know that, but I mean, they were all dancing just as good as her because none of them seemed to step out of the, out wrong, or you would have noticed them more. So they
Yeah.
all did everything perfectly. And I even went back a couple times and tried to watch it, but you cannot help but have your eyes be drawn right back to her character. She was just very alluring, I thought. And I'm a woman, and I thought she was very, very alluring. I wish I could dance as good as her. I would definitely take some classes if I thought I could look that good.
Sure, your
Um,
next boyfriend would be begging for a promotion to husband.
but I thought she was very talented. You could tell she definitely put a lot of work into her physical appearance and her dancing, even though her dance was totally different than what you would see Julie Andrews do. And that was
Yep.
another thing that I liked about it. It was that her total overall character was so different than Julie Andrews' sex appeal. Because Leslie Ann Warren was very sexy. So you had two totally different types of women being
I'm
portrayed.
I'll pull this up so people know who we're talking about here. I don't want you guys to be in the dark, but
Yeah, you could definitely tell that whole dance that she did and the way she did it and how tiny the actual stage is for her to dance and the way the tables were set up, that it was a very small cabaret bar that she was in. But those were the things that were very popular back then for a
that's
cat.
Leslie Ann Warren. Pretty much today.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she was in the movie Clue.
Yep.
This is her
Very
for
gorgeous.
yeah.
Very.
She was in Cinderella. She's in Desperate Justice with Tamara Davidson. Betrayal. She was a hot thing in late 70s, mid 80s.
Yeah, and she was also in Thelma and Louise, right?
I think so. Let me close this out real quick.
Or was that Susan Sarandon?
Susan Sarandon was in Thelma and Louise, but
Okay. But they look a lot alike, I think. They
a
could have
lot.
been actors in a movie. So, but they're both very talented and very pretty.
She's had a full docket of movies since 1962.
Wow.
Yeah, she's older than you think, but
Wow.
she ran.
Since 1962. I would
Uh,
never that by looking at it right now. But she is very talented. And she was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Oh, God, the scene is so good. Yeah, you can't play the music right.
No, can't. But
yeah, but that's
you
okay.
guys,
But look how beautiful her outfit is. And then when the wires pull it off of her, and then the men's faces. I mean, look at the guys even behind her. They're like mesmerized by her. And there's a few women in there, but it's mostly
yes.
because she definitely get hired because she has a good singing voice. She got hired because of this right here. That's what
Yes.
she sells tickets. She fills the seats, and that's what matters. And that was a hard life for a woman back then. And every guy in that place, in the real place in the 1930s, would be going, "Damn, why can't I have that woman at home?" But that's why they'd go there, because they look at the look on his face.
Yeah, he's got that strip joint stare going on.
He's like, "Damn." He's basically drooling on himself. He needs a bib.
He's got the cigar to absorb the moisture.
And now here come the girls. And see, they're all cuties, but they're all pale compared to what she looks like. She's just stands out.
She doesn't have the muted colors that they
Yeah,
do.
I know, but even though they do, I think even with the brighter colors, I don't still think that they could outshine her. She's just very, very pretty.
Yeah.
And she jiggles all in the right places. You know, I mean, she had to do some work. I mean, that right there was just freaking funny.
I
That
love his look.
good.
He's got that stare. Like you go to a strip joint and like that one guy in the corner, he always goes to the rail when this one dancer dances, and he just stands there staring at it like that's his only thing in life. Here's your $16 for this dance. Thank you.
She was adorable. I just loved
Yes.
the part. She did such a good job. I applaud her. She definitely deserved a nod for her part in this movie. And that it wasn't just from that scene. I mean, she did good in all her scenes. The scene where she gets her mouth washed out with soap by King Mashan because she's talking about him going to be impotent because he couldn't get it up. Just she did such a good job. And then when she tries to stab him to death with that spiky thing that she had in the hotel room.
She finds a spear.
Yeah, that spear. She
the whole thing.
Door. Bring her to Paris with you, boss. She'll help you relax. I mean, it's just hilarious, the whole thing. I just thought it was so good. And then the scenes where, what's his name? Alex Karras is out on the balcony in the snow, freezing his butt off because he went over there to save his boss, because thinking he was trapped over there. You know, and then the Jacques Cousteau type of agent, you know, investigator agent was hired to find out whether she was really a man or a woman. And he has it all bad because he gets struck by lightning. He falls off the ladder. I mean, he has some terrible stuff happen to him. Then he gets his finger smashed in the door. You know, all those bad things happen to him. So the little things like that, it wasn't overkill when it came to the comic side of it, for the little things that happened here and there throughout the movie without going overboard. It made it just enough to where you'd laugh in the right places during the movie, and I thought that was really good.
They did a great job with this movie. I would definitely watch this movie again. My parents are very not strict, but they're very conservative movie viewers, and so I'd never heard of this movie. Hey, George Lucas, I'd never heard of this film at all until about maybe 10 years ago, because I saw Tootsie as a young kid, and that movie kind of didn't interest me. It just didn't. But then this movie came out, and I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. And they came out about the same time. And then there's the Lithgow film, but it was just a good storm that happened at that time, because I guess that was the message that Hollywood was putting out. We're gonna have gender bender movies.
Yeah,
They did. They did a great job with it.
They did. They did a very good job. But the difference is that back then it seemed like the writing, the directing, the whole overall aspect of how they put movies together to try to fill all the little gaps for entertainment purposes. For some reason, it seemed like they were way better at doing it than they are today at making this type of a movie. That's why I don't think they make this movie again, because half the stuff in here would be considered over the top or hurtful to the gay community or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely could see that. I could hear people complaining about the opening number to be gay in France or be gay in Paris by Robert Preston. I could hear people complaining about it as I was watching it. Like I know that sounds weird, but they would complain. They would complain about it because how dare he take a dominant male stance, like a cis white male, but he's gay, you know? And I could hear them. I could hear them in my head. I'm like, this song wouldn't fly in Hollywood today. It just wouldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't think it would. But I still think it could be done if the right people came together and tried to make it. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be someone outside of the normal realm of movie making, because I think today you have to have a real gay person play a gay person. You have to have a black person play a black person. You have to have a Hispanic person play a Hispanic person. I mean, they're so strict now on every little thing that you have to have a handicapped person in it. You have to have you just have to have all the different, a real transsexual playing a transsexual, all that type of thing. So I just don't see how they'd be able to physically do it, because I don't think they could find that many characters like they did for this movie. I mean, they just had a whole bunch of people that supposedly were gay at the bars and all that stuff. And if you were only allowed to put a gay person in a gay bar, then, you're going to have a really hard time. But you're going to have people showing up saying they're gay just to get the part. So I don't know. I just don't see how Hollywood thinks they're going to be able to fill all these gaps to be able to have a movie that fits in these certain areas to win any awards to prove a point. I mean, I don't know. I all of this goes over my head when they stop worrying about the movies being good and trying to fill check marks. You know what I mean? Instead of worrying about whether the movie's entertaining, that's when you start losing money, when you start losing fans. And that's sad to me. It's really sad to me, because it's just sad to me that we can't just go to the movies anymore just to be entertained. I saw this movie. I didn't see it at the theater, but I saw it with my mother, and we were entertained because it was funny. The music was great. The acting was great. The story was great. And we had fun together enjoying a movie. And I just wish that more people could be with someone else and go to the movies and enjoy themselves instead of worrying about what agenda is going to be crammed down your throat. I mean, I went and saw that other movie, that Top Gun movie, and it was very good. I mean, I was apprehensive because I was like, oh, what are they going to, try to throw in my direction, uh, and it's gotten to where almost any movie I go see now, I'm waiting to see what they're throwing in my direction. And when they don't throw as much stuff in your direction as you thought, you're like, wow, they didn't throw that much stuff at me. So the movie must have been pretty good instead of focusing on just the movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then you do have to see it twice just to see whether it was a good movie because you miss so many things thinking, waiting to see something that might not be there. I don't know. Just to me, it's just sad where we are right now, and I hope to God that within the next couple years, that Hollywood will realize that it's best just to make entertaining movies and let actors just be actors and not be activists, and just let us enjoy a good movie for a change, good score in a movie, or a good story. And some acting thrown in to where we can actually just be entertained for 2 hours and go home and say, man, that was fun. I'm glad we came, again, like we did a long time ago, it seems like.
It's the final portion of the movie when they're having their troubles and he's realizing that you can be together but you don't have to go everywhere together, and then she's like, I just wanted to go and dance. That kind of hit home for me because I've been in a lot of relationships where like we can do things, and then like the one thing I get dragged off to doing, it's like the one thing I can't stand, which if I'm with a woman with a small child, and I'm not now, thank God. Um, and she's like, "Oh, let's take my kid to Disney on Ice." The last thing I want to do is something on ice. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go do that. I empathize with James Garner as he's there in a dance hall with a bunch of other gay men pressed against him because they're at a dance place and they're dancing. Aren't you happy? We went out dancing. I did what you wanted me to. I get a good man treat now. I get a good boy treat. We get to do things, and he's there being roped into this activity, which initially sounded okay. Yeah, we're gonna go out dancing. We're going dancing at a club for gay men, and so we're gonna be bumping around in a crowded dance floor with other gay men bumping into you.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand where he's not comfortable.
And
I
that's why
get it.
every time he would have the bodyguard take her home after they were done with their evening, and he would have to go somewhere else and get in a fist fight to feel virile again because
Yes.
like he was deflated, that his manhood was let down because he was sacrificing his manhood to prove to her that he was a man. Does that make sense?
It does. See, honey,
Okay.
I love you. I love
That's
you
what
so
I'm talking
much.
about, that I don't think there's any men at all in the world anywhere to be a real man like James Gardner's character in this movie that would sacrifice his manhood for a woman in front of other men. And that's why that was the one fault that I saw in this movie, that there's no such thing. There is no man in the world that would sacrifice his manhood for a woman. I don't care how much he thought he was in love with her or how horny he was or whatever. There is no way that would ever happen in reality. So
It's all
if
right.
it was,
It's
I
all
would
right.
meet this
Uh,
man and shake his hand because I don't think there is a such thing. That is fantasy for sure.
and just as you have your valid complaint about that,
Hmm.
I have a valid complaint that women don't talk the way that men can understand. And the thing is that this movie is a piece of fiction.
Hmm.
And whenever Leslie Ann Warren with her negligee boosting her boobs to a stratospheric level out of her bustier into
Mm-hmm.
your mouth as she curls up next to you in bed, and she utters those words that you beg to hear. I'm horny. Let's go. You never get that. Women never say that. They say things like, "Oh, look, there's the birds are chasing each other. Oh, look, um, our neighbors brought home their baby." And they dance around the topic. They never say things like in this movie so plainly as day, where they say, "Baby, let's just fuck." They don't say that. This movie was fiction. And
Is
I
that
understand.
why? Is that why you think that men go to prostitutes and things because they want women to say that to them?
Absolutely.
Well, see, that's what's sad because I'm one of those women that do say shit like that. Okay, so there are women out there that do
So we
that.
know your future husband is going to be one of the most virile and tested men
Probably
in
not.
America.
Problem is that when you are attracted to someone, you're not just attracted because of that one aspect,
No,
because
no, it's not the one aspect.
that,
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't, once you already have feelings for someone, those things pop in, then you find out that part of a person. That's the fact. You don't see a guy unless you got a guy or a woman that pick each other up on OnlyFans or as sex worker, or she's a prostitute or a stripper or things like that. You're not thinking that's what you're getting. There was an episode. I got the box set of all the Seinfeld episodes, and I get them as gifts. People give me weird collectible things like that, and I remember pulling each box out and trying to watch each different episode. And there's an episode in there where um, uh, there's different episodes in there where Seinfeld talks about uh, there's a woman in the back of his show that he leaves a tape recorder and it records his shows. And I don't know if you saw this one or not. I can't remember the name of it. I just remember this because of this topic. And the woman talks into the microphone on his tape player saying dirty things. You know, she was supposedly saying, you don't know what the dirty things are, but she says a bunch of vile, dirty things that men like to hear. So later on, um, uh, someone, I think it was Seinfeld, listened to the tape and he says he hears this woman, but he doesn't know who it is. Okay. So he lets his neighbor, the tall, skinny guy, I can't remember his name like this, and then
Kramer?
Kramer and George get to hear it, and they're all obsessed with this woman. Okay. And her voice, and they all want to meet her because they're like, oh my God, how can a woman say these things? And they're all like turned on by it. Well, then Elaine ends up spilling the beans to George that she was the woman, and she talks to George, whispers in his ear, and he knows that she's telling the truth because of the way she says something to him. So now he becomes obsessed with Elaine. Okay. So the whole concept is that Elaine was that woman. Elaine was the woman that was willing to do those things, but her and Seinfeld still didn't make it work because just the aspect of having a person that's sexual or does certain things that you think are sexy does not make a relationship.
No.
So if you base your whole relationship just on those certain aspects, you're not going to have a good relationship. You're not going to have a lasting one that will last, a lifetime if that's what you're looking for. So depending on your relationship, it takes two to tango. So you both have to work at the different things that you want from each other and be verbal about it. You talk to each other, like what she said when they were laying in bed together. And she said, we mustn't lie to each other. We must tell the truth. And if we're angry, make sure we tell each other we're angry and what we want. So she basically was trying to explain to him, if you want to have a relationship and we want to make it work, we have to be honest with each other. And if more people in real life would really do that, be honest about their feelings about I need more romance or I need more hand holding or I need more whatever. I really think that more people, whether they're gay or they're straight, would have longer lasting, better relationships. But for some reason, people just don't do that because they feel like if I say this or I do that, they're going to be mad at me and it's just going to cause a fight. And so they don't even make the effort. And that's the sad thing. That's what I see that destroys relationships because there's no communication. There's a lack of communication and they're too tired or they just don't want to fight or they think it's going to be a fight because they actually act like they think they can read the other person's mind or what they want instead of just walking up and asking. And part of my problem is I got a big mouth. I like to talk and I constantly ask questions. And maybe that's, my downfall in some aspects of my life. But most people that know me, they tell me that they respect that I seem like I want to know the truth and they try to be level about things and I try to make the best decision I can because I try to get information to fill in to make sure I make the right choice or the closest that I can. And I just wish that more people did that. If more people were honest with themselves about who they are on the inside, that maybe they would be happier in whatever relationships they have at work or their friends, their parents, their siblings, and their boyfriend or girlfriend or lover or whatever. If more people would just be themselves, just be happy with yourself and realize that no matter what, you're never going to please everyone because you can't have everyone in the world like you. You got to have people that just don't like you and live with that.
There's a piece of trivia that goes along with what you're saying right here.
Mm-hmm.
Before the crazy world number, and I'm getting this off the IMDb page.
Mm-hmm.
For the crazy world number, Victoria Grant, Julie Andrews does a king with King Marchand, James Garner, and they promise not to keep secrets or hold grudges. They won't plan past tomorrow, and they'll take things one day at a time, according to Andrews. These were the promises that she and Blake Edwards made to each other when they married in 1969, and they stayed together until his death in 2010. And both attributed their long marriage to these promises.
Well,
Good words to live by.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go find that and write that down because that is definitely. I mean, I didn't say it word for word, but I definitely believe that. I really do believe that if more people could just be themselves and not strive to be something they're not, just be happy who they are, because when you're pretending to be something, it's really hard to pretend to be something you're not and do it every single day, instead of being yourself. If you're yourself, you don't have to pretend. And that way, if you slip up or make a mistake, it's not like you're trying to cover something up and try to, oh, was I this person or was I that person today? You see?
I do.
It won't matter because you are that person. That's who you are. And the person that falls in love with you and that holds hands with you or takes care of you when you're sick or does your laundry or cooks for you already knows who you are and they're with you because they want to be there with you because they like who you are and you like who they are and you have fun together and you do things together or you do things not together because you both have something you want to do that's more important at that moment, so you let the other person go do something that they like that you don't, but you accept that in with each other and it works out because you're letting each other be who you are. And I just wish everybody could do that. That's my advice.
Understandable. It's completely understandable. As a guy that's in a brand new marriage, I get it. And communication's very important to us. That's why we haven't strangled each other because we're not going to get divorced. One will just stop showing up in daylight. That's how it'll be.
Well, add that in.
They're on a trip.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you have to start out any relationship thinking about the ending of it, then it's already over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But
When
the thing is that I
look at
I
somebody that I want to spend the rest of my life with in their eyes, and I could see my future with them, and I don't see an ending. I just see my future or
Well,
our future together. Then hopefully that's what will be. It's the future until there's that other person is just no longer on this earth. They're somewhere else. They're in another realm or whatever. And when I die, I'd hope that I still get to go wherever they went and have that hope that we'll see each other again someday. That is what I hear from so many people that have been married 50 years, 60 years or whatever. If I don't even know if people live that long, stay married that long, but
see,
when
my mom and dad have lived a Christ focused marriage for the entire time since 1972.
mhm.
And and we're still going to talk about this movie, guys. Don't just leave us because we're like, oh, we're talking about religion. Well, no, it ties back to it because Julie Andrews had a great marriage to the playwright and director Blake Edwards for
Mhm.
many years, 69 to 2010. So
Yeah.
that's 50 years plus of good times. Before they even got married, they were still, they knew who each other were, and things worked out really good for them. And it would be nice to be able, when you're young, you can have that aspect where you're not thinking of the end. And I think of everything as a complete cycle before I endeavor in it. Like I'm looking at dogs right now, and what's tearing me up is like whenever we do get our property and we get our land and we have a dog, it's going to be the best 10 or 12 years of my life with that animal, followed by 2 years of vet's bills and the most horrible, crucifying heartbreak, excruciating heartbreak that I'll never recover from. And by that time, I'll be about 50, or no, I'll be 60 by that time. Probably have lost my parents,
Hmm.
and I'm looking in the future on this, and I would love to be able to look at marriage as like we're going to be young forever. No, no, no. We married when we were 40 something. And so I've already woken up a couple times and I've got the achy breaking leg thing going on where like you have to stand up and massage your kneecap back into place and you know we're gonna do this. Come on, body. Let's go. 1 foot, left foot, 2 foot, right foot, 1 foot, left foot. You start trying to walk and coordinate yourself because you feel like a Voltron pilot trying to learn how to walk for the first time at about 3 minutes into the day where you're like, oh God, out, 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 right feet and legs, out, out, and I'll form the head. Oh God, this is hurting me. Oh, I really should go back to bed and maybe grab some pain pills or whatever. And I'm starting to see that. I'm 40 something. And so when we got together, like she told me, I'm gonna get at least 20 good years out of you. And last year in August, whenever I was in the hospital, she was about robbed of that. She did not appreciate this at all. She's already being told by Bruce's body, you might be losing this. I might succumb to the Wu flu, and it really ruined her for a few weeks until I got back to the house and started doing Bruce things again. But it's an amazing journey, and
The
if people
thing
can
is,
have,
with
go ahead.
with that whole thing with your relationship,
Yeah,
when you get to a point in your life, and I'm not saying that everyone gets that to that point at the same age, because some people seem to get there in their 20s, others in their 30s, others in their 40s, and some may never find that uh, spot in their life where they have something they want and they don't want to lose it. Okay.
yeah.
A lot of people do that with their car or a motorcycle or a collectible or things like that. But when
Something
you
that can't give you a random blowjob is not worth loving that much.
a person when you get a person in your life, that you look at and you look at them and you when you look at them you can't see your life without that person in your life,
Yeah.
you know. That is the best thing you could ever have because so many people live their whole life and never have that feeling for another human. And I'm not
That,
talking about your mother or your sibling. I'm talking about your lover.
yeah.
Okay. So when you get to have someone like that in your life every day, even if you're not having sex 24 hours a day, which is impossible, but the person that you want to talk to, the person you want to hold your hand or put their arm around you or snuggle with you or share a burger with,
Mhm.
little things like that. When you get to the age in your life and you realize that is life, that is what life is worth living for, to be able to be with the person like that for the rest of your life, to be able to see their face, to be able to listen to their voice or just feel their touch, because you might be blind or deaf, but that doesn't mean you can't still have that type of love for someone. um, I just
Absolutely.
wish every person in the world could find out what that's like. And that's the sadness of reality, is that there are so many people out there that will never have that, either because of their choices in their drug addiction or sex addiction, or they just are so busy trying to collect things with money or a fancy house or fancy cars or alcohol or whatever it is that they're replacing real feelings with, because they think they're never going to find the right one, or they can't trust anyone. There's no one out there that's good enough or whatever. And their life is just, each day is going by and they're missing out another day of having that person in their life, because that person's out there walking around waiting for you. And I really believe that. It's just
Yes.
that people are so busy in their lives, they're not even taking the time out to see if there's someone standing right next to them, or the person they thought was just their friend um, or a coworker, and that person's been looking at them in a different way for years, but just waiting for that other person to look at them the right way. Things like that, because things that are just slipping between your fingers because you're not taking the time to notice that it's there already. I
How many
see.
times? I mean, a lot of us that are here in chat, thank you for sticking around here. How many times have you guys been past a point in life where you've had a really good friend, and yeah, you secretly did crush on him, and then something happened, you separated, and then when you met each other up again, life had changed. One or both of you had gotten married, and maybe somebody's unhappy with their current predicament, but they say something like, we could have had a great relationship when I was younger. And when you're a guy and you're single, and like a woman says that to you, it takes almost zero persuasion for a guy to convince himself, I've masturbated to this woman for the past 20 years, or I've thought about this person
Yeah.
routinely on this road. When I go down this road, I think of this person because we used to drive down this road in my pickup truck, listen to this song, and now I can't listen to it because, my poor pull-out game and my wife are riding with me in the truck, or in the SUV, so we got to take a different road, even though this is shorter. Why don't we take that other road? I don't like that road. You have these things go on, and like I know way too many people, more than I can count on both hands, both feet,
Mm-hmm.
that they had somebody in their life at one point that could have been appointed by a higher power as maybe not a soulmate, but somebody that you could have grown with and developed a really good life with. And it would have worked out if you tried. If you tried is the three words that usually are what you hear when you hear your friends are getting divorced. If you had tried harder, we wouldn't be getting this divorce. If you had tried not to collect all the Magic Gathering cards, if you had not tried to collect all the D&D books, if you had tried not to collect all these movie memorabilia stuff that I don't value, and you would have kowtowed to me, we could still be together, which is what I hear when a woman or when a guy, both either one, say things like, how dare you value your car or intangible love and give that to an inanimate object that can't give you love back. How dare you do that? You love that more than me. No, I don't. I enjoy the time I spend on this because it's rewarding to me. It helps me drag my stress level and anxiety level down. I like to work on cars. I like to fix bikes. I like to tighten up gaskets. I like to be working with my hands, or I like to have my garage. And if you liked it too, we could share time together. But a lot of times when people are having this conversation, they're not having that. If we could stay together, if you want to try this,
Well, see,
and
that's the same thing with anything. I
yes,
mean, if you meet somebody at the bowling alley, okay, the one person might be a very good bowler and the other one sucks at bowling. They just think it's fun. Or
yeah,
you're at golf and one of you's really, really good golfer and goes to top golf because it's just a way to blow off steam because you think it's funny because you like to watch all the other people that can't golf worth shit and you get a kick out of it. Okay. Well, uh, you can have a lot of things where you both are interested in it, but that doesn't mean you're both going to be good at it, you know.
correct.
But if you're a couple, you could work at trying to help the other one get better if they want to, or you can just find something else that you both like to do and you both have interested in. Um, so what I mean is that if people would just accept people for whatever you found intriguing by them when you first met them. Like you'll see someone say, "Oh, they got a beautiful smile," or "They got pretty hair," or "They got beautiful eyes," or "I like that guy's motorcycle," And you go over and you start talking to him and says, "I think the way he dresses is nice," or "He's got a nice smile." You start to get to pick up things on a person that you meet by having interaction. So if you never take the initiative and have the first interaction, then that time is gone. That one moment that you could have made an impression is no longer there. So when you do have an opportunity to meet someone or talk to that person, even if it's not going to be a long-term relationship, you might end up just become good friends. You might end up making writing a novel together, or you might end up making a video together, or uh, writing a comic book together. I mean, you don't know, but there's an attraction of some sort. That's why you want to talk to them. I'm always meeting people, and it's really hard for me. Even when I just am walking down the street, I'll see someone that has an interesting purse or a nice pair of shoes. I'll say, "Oh, I love your shoes. They're really cute." Or "I like your car," or "Where'd you get your car?" or something. Just simply because I like to talk. I'm a very talkative person, but I'm a good listener to some degree. I mean, I think I am because I'm interested in what other people have to say and what makes them think that way. Um, and I just wish more people, even the ones that are very quiet, they just like to sit in the back of the room and pay attention and they enjoy watching what other people do, even they need to have interaction sometimes. So when that person sees someone or is introduced to someone that they think might have something interesting to offer, just say hi or smile or reach out to shake their hand without saying anything and see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen? They'll turn around and walk off.
I got
Okay.
offended because she tried shaking my hand, like James Garner. I love that scene at the start of the movie when he goes to shake Victor's hand, and he notices the hand is kind of light boned and feels like a woman's hand, and she
Soft.
she gets that, and she's like, "No, I got to grip it harder. I got to shake your hands like a man." You can see that. You can see that on her face, and then it
You can
goes
see that
back to the hands.
too.
Say again.
You can see that on his face too.
Yeah,
That
and
he definitely feels.
he's already sold on her.
Yeah,
He's
that's why.
already bought the cow on this one. He's already thinking she's beautiful.
Yeah,
And
from the
he,
very first night he saw her sing. But what I'm saying is that anything,
sorry,
uh, don't let anything pass you up. If you go to the
no,
movie theater and you're standing in line to see the brand new Top Gun movie or the brand new Marvel movie that's coming out that one of your favorite characters is going to be in, and there's people standing in line, and you see a couple girls standing in front of you, and you're with a couple of your guy friends. Say, yeah, what are you guys gonna watch? You gonna watch this movie? And they say, yeah. And say, well, who do you think is going to be the best character in this movie? Start up a conversation. You never know. That girl standing in front of you might be interested in the same person you like. Then you start talking about a little more about those characters, and then it branches out to other characters. You don't know what you have in common with someone if you never talk to them.
Janet,
So
you are speaking my language right now because I was trying to tell a friend of mine, if you don't shoot your shot, you're never going to hit your target.
that's right. You
And
won't. And
yeah,
but the thing, it goes both ways. Why some people think that women don't approach people or make women do men may not believe this, but women do the same thing that men say they do on their own in the bathroom or whatever. Women do the same thing. I'm not saying they do it as prevalent as men or whatever, but women have needs just like men do. And I don't know where men come off thinking that women don't have any needs or any things to fulfill, because we do. We want the same things. We might want more because women want romance. Women want flowers. We want to be told we're pretty, or that we're their sun, their moon, their star. All that stupid crap is still real. I don't care what anybody says. Women like romance. Whether it's you picking dandelions on the side of the road and bringing them home and giving them to her and telling her you're the most beautiful thing I ever saw today, or whatever. Okay, women like it. Women want it. All women want to know is that they're needed and they're loved, and that the person that they come home to every day can't wait to see him that night. That's all women want. If you could give women that and tell them, honey, the food was excellent. Thank you so much for being there for me, cooking my meals, or doing my laundry, or going to work every day and bringing home a paycheck and sitting on the couch and watching this stupid show with me. I mean, any of that stuff. Being verbal about your feelings to the woman or the guy, depending on your personality. I mean, if you have a shy, quiet guy and the woman does all the talking, if she tells him, I think you're the best thing since sliced bread or whatever, it's a compliment. It makes the person feel needed and wanted. And throughout this whole movie, when Julie Andrews is saying stuff to Robert Preston's character, what did you think about King Marchand? Well, I thought he was a jerk and an asshole and this, that, and I think I could be in love with him, So you can still think bad things about somebody or be irritated by someone, but that doesn't mean you can't fall in love with them. So that's what I take away from this movie, is that everyone can be accepted and repulsed at the same time by something someone might do. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you want them to fart on you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's the same concept. I mean,
Dates with Janet just got more interesting in your heads, right, guys? Okay.
Well, it's just that I don't know. I just think that people make life so complicated,
They do.
and they put people on pedestals that they think everything is out of reach, when I think everything's right there in front of you on the shelf, and that if you don't reach out and grab it and put it in your cart, you're never going to get it because it's going to be sold out.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And don't just assume because the last girl you had that had to have her makeup on just right and was perfect all the time, or whatever, or liked you spending all your money on buying her jewelry or whatever. She can only spend your money if you open your wallet. That's what I tell people. I mean, you don't have to spend any money if you use the right words and you sit down and write a poem for her on paper, or you hold her hand and you go and you just walk her to the edge and show her the beautiful valley down below. Things like that. Romance doesn't have to cost money. Just spend your time with that person. Show them you care because you're giving up some of your valued time instead of doing something else that they think that you'd want to do. Do something with them and show them what they're worth to you. If you could just do that, I think everybody would be way happier in their
Really
life on a
happier.
daily basis. But yes, I love this movie, and I recommend that everybody see it, especially if you it has nothing. It has a lot to do with gay in
Yeah.
this movie, but it's about romance. It's about acceptance, and it's about being honest about your feelings. Basically, is what I see in this movie.
This movie had a lot of that. Had a lot of being honest with yourself in it.
Just be yourself and accept who you are. And I wish everyone could do that. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to these movies. I feel like,
You fill your time with it, so you can fill your world with it.
well, it's just that I feel like I I connect with a lot of characters in the movies that I really like. Um, Even if it's just one character, the movies that I really like always have somebody in it that I feel like I could connect with. And if you can reach in and grab a character and connect with that character and try to understand the choices that character is making in that movie, um, then maybe it'd help you understand yourself a little bit better. Even though it's a movie, it still has emotion. It brings emotion and feelings along with it. So if you can try to do that, I think it would make a big difference.
I agree with that. I'm gonna pester Vanessa to listen to what we had to say about this because I haven't seen her post thoughts about a movie since Ryan or Lars and the Real Girl. But I would love to hear her thoughts on this one because she's analytical. She's pretty deep on that.
Yeah, maybe she'll tune in and watch some of this stuff. I haven't had time to send her any messages or anything.
I've been trying to get in touch with Drew, and I think I'm going to call him again after this video here. See if
Okay, that'd be good. Yeah, I haven't
Did
talked
he
to
talk to you at all or no?
No, I just talked to him a little bit on Discord and a little bit on Twitter, and that's it.
Okay,
But
so he's
it seemed like he's doing a little better, and then he has a bad time. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I mean that's to be expected. He's going through that, so he's not going to have a circus tent out in front of the house. The bank's
Oh
trying
yeah,
to get their money out of him.
yeah, I know that's terrible,
It sucks.
but I just want to tell everybody thank you for coming by and listening to what we had to say about this movie, and that I recommend that they watch it. And you don't have to tell anyone you're watching it; just watch it and see what you think for yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that this movie is kicking off for me a a hunt for Robert Preston movies because I realize just he's really good in this film. He does a great job in the movie The Last Starfighter. Uh, there's a lot of Kon, a lot of not underhanded dealing, but he's not slimy, but a little immoral. Okay,
Maybe.
and he does that underhanded immoral thing so fucking well. Like I get his character. I think it's great. I don't give a shit if he takes it in the butt. I don't care. I don't care if he's top or bottom. The part where I laughed way too much was along with the two physical comedy we talked about before, the cockroach scene and the second fight in the nightclub. There's a scene where he's getting a cold, and he says, "There's nothing worse than a drag queen with a head cold," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, that sounds overtly dramatic. And I live in
Now,
one of the cities in America. Go ahead.
his character was overly dramatic.
Oh yeah, lots of shoulders on his gesticulations, and he loved just be exemplifying everything, and he gesture more than an Italian ant would gesture around. If he talked with his hands, you could cut his hands off; he'd be silent,
Yep,
and
definitely.
that's how he is. This
I'm
movie,
like that to a degree.
I liked this character. I like this character enough in this movie to where, okay, I want to watch more Robert Preston films. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I really enjoyed his character. And seeing John Rhys Davies in this movie, he looks younger in this film than he did in Raiders of the Lost Ark a couple of years before this.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought this movie was before that movie, but when I looked it up, it was.
Nope, Raiders came out the same year as Empire Strikes Back, I think.
So, what movie are you wanting us to watch for next time?
Well, actually, there's a 2012 movie called The Raid out of Indonesia that I'm going to say that I want you to watch. It's a Sony Pictures movie, so I can't even show the trailer. We'll get
Yeah.
yanked off the web faster than anything else, but we will. I want you to watch that. I'll show you the trailer when I end the broadcast. But
Okay.
it is it's a very good action film. But I think if you're going to keep being in the acting millennium, if you're going to keep yourself out there, you're going to bump into some people that aren't from here. The new rules of the game, the Oscars Association have said that they're going to be only rewarding movies that have super diversity in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's from a third world country, they're just going to be happy that we have a movie out. This will qualify. The entire movie's diverse because it's from Ethiopia, and there's no white people in Ethiopia, of course, right? But I mean, no. If it's a Western civilization movie, you have to have a black script writer. You have to have a POC casting agent. You have to have so many stupid little check marks filled.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that with this movie here started a small scene of independent filmmakers in Indonesia, because when it started to be advertised, people started paying attention to it because the fighting was so well done. And then they realized that they shot a movie for less than $1 million. And then the sequel was shot in Jakarta for $4 million. And not many people talk about Jakarta. I think me and Sean Guyman are the only two people, well, anybody that plays Pandemic, the board game, not the real life thing that we're playing right now, but no, Pandemic, the board game is a really good board game, and you have to stop 4 diseases before they ravage the earth and destroy the population. And it's a very good game. If you have friends, play it with friends because it's cooperative. It's not a game where one person wins. Either you beat the table or the table beats you. And it's a very quick game. It takes about 90 minutes or less for a game. So you can play a few games over the course of an evening if you're dedicated to learning it. It's fun.
Yeah,
But
I've never heard of it.
Jakarta's on this map for this board game. And whenever I found out it was in Jakarta, I'm like, oh, I know where that is. And I started piecing together the map in my head because I've stared at the board for about maybe 30 hours.
Well, that sounds like a really interesting movie, and I'll try to see where I could look for it or whatever to watch.
Let me do a search real quick on IMDb. Be the second quote unquote raid movie that you and I have watched in our quest. And right now it's on HBO Max with subscription.
Okay.
And let me see if I can pull it on. Yep, you can rent it off of YouTube.
Okay. But I have HBO, so
sweet.
I can watch it on HBO.
Yes. Janet?
But I had fun. Thank you for having me again to talk about a great movie.
I'm this. Don't let the low numbers for views during our live streams dissuade you. We get pretty decent views
I
throughout
won't.
the week.
I don't. I don't hardly even look at the chat. I mean, I do every so often because it's on my phone, and I use my iPad for the actual streaming thing. But no, that doesn't bother me at all. But the fact that the movie I just loved this movie, and I'm glad that you thought it was funny and that you enjoyed it.
I got a kick out of it. If your movie recommendations, I know they won't always be like this, but if your movie recommendations are going to be like this, I mean, we've watched 4 movies from each of us now, and or 4 from me, 3 from you, and is it no? Because the first, hold on, I gotta go. And I know that sounds terrible, Bruce. You don't know what you're doing? No, I don't. Hold on. Here we are.
This is 4 movies for me.
Okay.
Just One of the Guys, Lars and the Real Girl, The Great Raid, and The Victor Victoria. That's 4 movies.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I might be wrong on my numbers then. I apologize. But
you said number 8.
Yeah, this is. But we didn't do a movie review the first time because we were talking and getting to know Janet from another planet.
Oh, okay. That's weird. Maybe I've got more movies than you then.
That might be the situation. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Because we started off this with the movie Heat. And then we watched Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah, see, your next one, The Raid, will be your 4th movie.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But that's okay. Right. Yeah, it was a really good one. I really enjoyed it. My mom loved it, and I loved it.
Chat, thank you for sticking around so long. We've not hit our quote unquote time limit, but I do want her to be able to rest easy. She's in the Eastern Seaboard right now, and they're an hour ahead of me. So I want her to have amicable time for getting together with her family and friends because they're on vacation right now and want Janet to enjoy herself, not be tied to her iPad.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for the chat for showing up and supporting us.
Not a problem. Please stick around for just a few minutes, Janet, after we close the show.
Okay, I will. Thank you, guys.
Everybody. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Good night.